Yesterday I trimmed out this nice yellow birch stave, and it cut like butter on the band. So I got to tell you, it was one of the easiest woods to cut. And what we're going to do today is we have this steamer. I got my little Wagner steamer down here and hooked up to my steam tube, and we're going to steam it for a minimum of an hour and 15 minutes. So the cambium layer, that layer under the bark, will get steamed and should peel off like every other wood that I tried, like a banana skin. Okay, there's a minimum of an hour and 15 minutes. So I plugged it in, and if you ever have a Wagner steamer, one of these steamers, and you plug it in, you won't hear nothing. You'll think it's broke. But then after a while, like 15 minutes, you'll hear it starting to cook. All right, it takes a while before it makes any noises, which is kind of deceiving, you know. So we're going to put this in. I'm going to put a towel, or actually a t-shirt, in the end. And we're not going to count the hour and 15 minutes until we actually hear it steaming at the end of the tube. Until steam starts coming out of the end of the tube. Let's put it in now. And once the steam starts coming out, we're going to count that hour and 15 minutes. And the thing that you're going to need is pot holders. You're going to have to use pot holders to take this out. Once you take it out, you should have a sawhorse set up. I have a sawhorse set up with a ratchet strap that's loose, just enough to put the log underneath, just to hold it from falling off the table. And I'm going to peel it off, and that'll be it. We'll trim up a stave, and hopefully we're going to get this on a backset jig today and prep it for fire hardening. As the steamer starts going, I have a relief hole drilled out in the end cap. Water will be dripping. You'll feel the tube getting warmer and warmer all the way down to the end here. And what you could do is once you hear the steamer, listen. Once you hear that noise, the tube's hot and you hear that noise, now we can start the hour and 15 minutes. It's time to pull the stave out. Okay, here we go. Look at that, how beautiful. Pristine back. Yellow birch. Look how nice. Beautiful. Could just lay out a bow and shape it. And once I have a log, I take the bark off. And that allows me to see where the knots are and how I'm going to lay it out and where I might get a stave out of and where I might not get a stave out of. And how I'm going to split it. I'll split it along the knots, or where the part that I'm not going to use, to split it in half to save the better halves. So you peel off the bark so you can see what's underneath. This here, I just want to show you, This yellow birch bark comes right off. It's real easy to use the draw knife and take it off. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, the next thing I do is, once I lay a line out, a 2-inch line, and then I'm going to trim this peak off. And I cut it. You could use a draw knife. You could make, once you have your line, you could use a chainsaw, a handsaw, cut relief cuts. You could use a wedge and a hammer to cut off sections and make sure you leave the handle section bigger. But what I do is I just get it like a 2x2. I don't worry about shaping the bow. I just, because I have the bandsaw, I'm able to cut it like a piece of lumber, make it a 2x2. So the first thing is I cut this peak off around 2 inches, and then I'll look at the bow and see where I'm going to lay it out. Where there's a dip, I'm not going, if there's a big dip here, like you see this big dip, there's a big dip, I'm not going to use this side, I'm going to use this side. All right, so cut off the peak so it can lay flat, and then look at it and see where you're going to lay the bow out. First thing you do when you get a log is you scrape off the bark and look at where the knots are. I like to circle them sometimes with you know, on a cambium, circle with magic marker to see where the knots are, and roll it and look at where I'm going to split it to get the most staves out of it. And after you do that and you split it, there's always a peak, like a pie, a wedge. And you could use, make your relief cuts with a saw and a chisel and a hammer to take them off. I got to give you a heads up, if you know power tools, I wouldn't use power tools unless you know how to use them. But if you're cutting that peak off and you draw a 2-inch line and you're cutting it, you got to hold this absolutely straight and strong, because the slightest little twist, you could bust your bandsaw blade and hurt yourself. So I would say stay away from the bandsaw. I would say make relief cuts, use a chisel and a draw knife, okay, to get it down so it's flat. And once you have it flat, you have a better idea. You could look at the stave you got and see where you can make a layout, okay? So let's look at the stave that we got here. It's fairly flat down here, but it takes such a severe twist, such a severe dip, and it's not quite half, but it's pretty far, all right? So the best thing to do is, I actually got this particular one at a local hardware. It's 2 inches wide. And if you lay this down, you could see how bad the dip is. Okay, this one has a phew. And in my opinion, it's not worth using this one. But you see, I have plenty others, you see. I have plenty others from this particular log, but this piece is going to be firewood. So I just figured I'd take the time to explain it to you. Got a log, take the bark off, circle your knots, roll it around, split it. Next job is make relief cuts, take the peak off, lay it flat, get yourself a straight edge that's wide enough that, you know, for the thickness of your bow, lay it down. This could be a board, you know, a 1x2 or something that's straight. It could be anything. And you lay it on top and you look at it and you say, oh, wow, that's not bad. I could use this side, I could use this side. Or, in this case, it takes such a severe dip, it's firewood. I just want to show you another one. I got a peak cut off, so it's kind of sitting sort of flat. Here's a big knot here. Here's a little chainsaw mark. It's okay, all of these are a little twisted. But let's see what happens when we lay the big ruler down. And we'll even hide the numbers. Okay. We're able to sneak out on this side a nice 2-inch stave. So we're going to lay it out and trim it up. Okay, we laid out a 2-inch width line on each side here. So we have a guide to trim it out. You can take it down with a draw knife, whatever you want to do to take it down to this line. You could use, if you feel comfortable, cut the one side with a circular saw and split it off. You could. I'm using a bandsaw, and I don't suggest anybody use any power tools unless they get a lesson or they're experienced with it. Like I said, if you twist it or whatever, the bandsaw blade could break and you can get hurt. You got to be really on top of your game. You got to be really focused when you're cutting on a bandsaw, so you have all your fingers at the end of the day. I'm going to show you when it's trimmed up. Okay, we have a nice, beautiful 2x2 stave that we trimmed out, and we avoided this big knot, right? And it was from when the tree was cut down, a little chainsaw gouge, and there was another knot here. So that's why it's important, once you take the bark off, roll it around, circle the knots, look at, say, oh, I could get a bow out of here, or I'm going to cut right down by that knot, and that's where I'm going to make the split. There's a couple of knots in a row. We're going to make the split there, and I'll be able to trim out a bow in between. So that's it. Back to steaming. I just wanted to show you how easily that winter bark peels off. Okay, the winter cambium. The bark comes off with the draw knife pretty easy, but that cambium, an hour and 15 minutes, peels off like a banana skin. So I'm going to steam some more, and I'm going to draw a layout on that first one we steamed, and I'm going to cut a bow blank. So here's my first time layout for this yellow birch. So I have an 8-inch riser from the center. It's 4 inches on each side. It's 2 inches wide. From that 2 inches at the fade out, I go to the mid limb. To the middle of the limb, it's 1 1/4. And then tape it down from the 1 1/4 to 3/4. Okay, to 3/4 wide limb on the end. So that's the layout. And once I trim it, I'm going to sand it. The layout will be a little smaller when I take off the saw marks. But I got to tell you, if you look, when I cut this with the bandsaw, how nice and smooth it is. It's really a beautiful wood to work with. I really hope it makes a good bow. I hope it don't break during the tillering. I hope it lasts, because if it does, it's an awesome wood to work with. I have the stave rough cut now. Actually looks like a bow. It's a bow blank. Okay, and I'm going to get the belt sander out. Let me just see something here. Okay, good. We're going to make a nice weight bow out of this. It don't budge. All right, we're going to get the belt sander out, and we're going to shape it up, and hopefully it makes a really nice bow. I'm hoping. So I sanded it down, and like I said, I really like this wood. So this is the measurements I got after sanding, taking out the tool marks. Was 1 3/4 at the fade outs from 2 inches. At the midpoint of the limb, we have it down to 1 inch from 1 1/4. And the end is 5/8. And the midpoint here is 1 inch, and we got 5/8. So everything's evened out. Now I'm going to take down some thickness so I can get it to bend a little bit. I'm going to floor tiller it. Okay, I have it sanded. I sanded the sides, took out the tool marks. I sanded the belly to get it to floor tiller, and I got it moving. Both sides feel like they're moving about the same. Okay, now it's time for me to take the next log out and take the cambium off, and then I'll see, maybe later this will go on a backset jig if I have time. Okay, here we go. I lost track of time. I didn't put the timer on. I believe it should have went a little longer. Here we go. Here it comes. So I messed up, so it probably wasn't the hour and 15 minutes. But look how nice the back is. And there's nothing more than a little hand sanding in a couple of little spots. And that'll be the end of that. So taking off the cambium from the winter, an hour and 15 minutes, and you get a nice pristine bow to lay out. Look at this. Watch the magic. It has to be an hour and 15 minutes. I messed up on the second stave. Look at that. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. Where do you see the pristine back on this bow? Any wood. An hour and 15 minutes. Peel the cambium off. Pristine back for making bows. Look at that. Beautiful. Can't ask for any better than that. Look at that. Okay, it's time for the fourth stave, which will be the last stave I could do because I have to go teach. So let's try and get this out. And I'll show you peeling off the bark. Okay, this never gets old. Look at this. Any kind of tree that you're going to make a bow out of. Look at this. Pristine back. And I'm just lightly brushing against this and it's coming off. There was a little piece that stuck. Okay, let me show you what we got here. Check this out. This just don't get old, man. It's pristine back. Any wood that you want to make a bow and you got that layer of cambium, you steam it for an hour. It has to be an hour and 15 minutes. It's a beautiful thing. Then you just draw your bow design on it, cut it, and that's it. That's the back of your bow. I got one more stave to do. I'll have to do it either tonight when I come home after teaching or tomorrow. I'm going to leave this out. This one here is done. And then I'll line them up and I'll show you what I got. You just pull this out. This never gets old. This just never gets old. Look at this. Peels off like a banana skin. And look, let me show you what it looks like. Okay? Pristine. It's a pristine back to lay out a bow. So I'm running late. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to take a picture of what I did today. And then I got to get out of here. Okay, this is what I did today. I see this stave is cracked. This is garbage here, this one, but that happens. I don't know why it split the way it did, but it did. And so we have 1, 2, 3 good staves. One is got to get cooked tomorrow. And I made 2 different bows. Little different design. This one was 2 inches to start. Now it's probably 1 3/4. At the fade outs, tape it down to what will wind up being a 1/2 inch. It's 3/4. And this one here is a thinner one, 1.5 inches, the limbs, sort of like what I would do on a hickory bow. Tape it up to 3/4. And both of these bows are going to get fire hardened. And we're going to see if one breaks, one don't break. And once again, this here is yellow birch. Yellow birch provided to me from my friend Chris. And that's the end of this video. It's basically, I wanted to show you how you could peel that cambium off any wood. It don't matter what it is, but you have to leave it for the hour and 15 minutes. If you don't leave it for an hour and 15 minutes, you're going to have problems. It's going to stick and it's not going to come off. All right, so thanks for watching. Every day you wake up is a great day. Go out, shoot, make a bow. Life is short. Enjoy it. Thanks for watching. So about a half hour before I left archery, I called home and asked my son to plug in the steamer. It was all set up with the last stave. So what I wound up with is 3 nice staves, and I have the thin limb bow and a thicker limb bow. So I just wanted to give you an update that it's all finished. I'm all done. I'm done for tonight. And one of these days in the future, these will go on a backset jig and get fire hardened, and then the fun will begin with the tillery.